the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast. My name is Brian Wallace, and I am the MS Michigan Man 64. The MS Michigan Man 64 podcast is about chronic disease awareness. I have had multiple sclerosis for the last 27 years. It's an invisible chronic disease that I've been battling for half of my life. I want to share with you what it is like living with the chronic disease from my experiences and the experiences of other chronic disease warriors. We can fight to have a voice to those that want to listen. Together, we can motivate and educate. Hi, and welcome to the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast. Today, I am sitting down with Mike. Mike is from the state of Alaska, and he was diagnosed with MS in 2019. Mike really kind of attacked this disease in the weight room. He started out, when he got diagnosed, he was 6'2", 215 pounds. He's now up to 280 of pure muscle, and that's just the way he attacked this disease. Please welcome to the podcast, Mike. How you doing, Mike?
Good. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing all right, my friend. Hey, Mike, I know that, and I've seen videos of you showing your workouts, and you're just a beast now. And can you just kind of take us through your diagnosis in 2019, what led up to it, what kind of symptoms were you having, and, you know, how you ended up getting diagnosed with multiple sclerosis? And then we'll get into the whole weight room thing, because that's just fascinating me, the way you attack this disease.
Yeah. So I actually started having problems when I was pretty young. Started experiencing numbness, tingling, and pain in like my legs and my feet, and like muscle spasms and tremors and stuff like that. And that actually started when I was about 10 or 11 years old. Wow. And unfortunately, I was misdiagnosed, and I actually had 3 foot operations trying to correct the problem. And of course, it never did.
So anyway, let me ask this, Mike. When you said you had surgeries to correct this problem, what, you were having problems like with walking balance wise, and they ended up doing surgery to correct it?
Yeah. So I was like having pain primarily, and then balance, and like tingling and muscle spasms and all kinds of stuff in my legs and my feet. And they told me the reason behind that was because I was flat-footed and my hips were kind of turned out a little bit. So they did 3 foot operations, giving me arches and then pulling down tendons in the back of my legs, kind of like correcting what they thought was the issue. But, it really didn't do a thing. I continued to have these issues.
I can't even imagine them doing surgery on a young 11-year-old. I just got to ask, nobody ever even thought to give you a brain MRI at that age, to try just to see what was going on? Wow.
Yeah, it was never suggested. They just kind of primarily focused on the fact that I had flat feet.
Wow. Oh my God. So, okay. So you're 11 years old, and how old were you in 2019 when you got diagnosed? And like, what happened between 11 years old and that diagnosis?
Well, so I was 29 when I got diagnosed, and we'll just say throughout the years, I declined quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I had most of my strength still. All up until I was about, I want to say like 25 is when I started losing a lot of strength and mobility. And, when I got diagnosed, I pretty much had every symptom in the book for like MS. Like, you look up the symptoms of MS, I pretty much had every single. At the time when I got diagnosed, I had went blind in my left eye, so optic neuritis.
Yeah.
I could barely walk at all. I couldn't bend over without falling down. I had constant vertigo. Uh, like
Are
it,
you
it felt like my legs.
are
Yes.
are you going to doctors between the ages of 11 and 29
Yep.
complaining about this,
Yep.
and
Yep.
they're just blowing you off? And wow.
Pretty much they said, oh, you have anxiety, you don't sleep enough, it's because you're unhealthy, you have depression. Like it was always something, you know, uh, some sort of bogus reason why I felt the way I did all the time. And, I had extreme fatigue nonstop as well and cognitive fog, and I slurred my speech every once in a while
Yeah.
or a lot,
And
and,
no doctor ever thought of, hey, you know what? We're going to run an MRI just to see if there's anything what's going on with your brain.
nope, not one. And I kind of thought the like optic neuritis would have been like kind of a dead giveaway, or,
Yeah.
the extreme fatigue.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, optic neuritis. That was one of my first symptoms, and it was like, I mean, I went to the eye doctor. He told me my optic nerves inflamed, and that was like what started it. And I've actually done a couple of other episodes where their eye doctor said the exact same thing. Hey, your optic nerve is really inflamed. You need to get in to see a neurologist like now.
Right. And
That's
that,
just crazy.
that that's kind of what actually the optic neuritis, because I kept going to the doctors and, they all kept saying, you're fine, your labs look great, blah, blah, blah. And finally, I went to an eye doctor actually. And the eye doctor, this is also in 2019, goes, hey, like, he's like, when I see this, typically it's people with MS, that have this problem.
Right.
And then that prompted me to I went to the ER because I was in such rough shape. I went to the ER and kind of demanded a MRI, and they were kind of reluctant. They didn't really want to. They didn't think I needed one, and I demanded it. And they scanned my brain, and when they
wow, the ER said that they didn't think that you needed one, and you're coming in there with all kind of MS symptoms.
right, and I went to the ER because I'd already seen other providers, like practitioners and regular EOs and
right,
all that, but they all kind of just shoved me off. And
right,
I was at a breaking point to where I was like, I'm gonna die.
yeah. Oh, I get it. I totally get it. So how did you end up? I'm trying to piece together where you're going to get told that you got diagnosed with MS, but you got the ER trying to blow you off. Where did you actually get somebody to actually look at your brain?
Well, the ER did end up scanning my brain
After okay, so you were advocating for yourself, saying, "No, I want this done," and that's when they did it, and then they're like, "Oh, you got MS." Wow.
Yeah, they kind of panicked actually when they got my results back, because it was, I had so many active lesions at one time that they were kind of panicking a bit about it.
Oh, wow.
Like the majority of my brain looked like it was on fire.
Wow. So what's going through your head at 29 after you've been battling this for maybe since you were 11? As far as you know, that's what you think it started when you were 11. What's going through your head? Would it taken that long, and now they finally sit there and say you got MS? I mean, was that like a relief, or did that just like scare the shit out of you?
It didn't really scare me necessarily. My first thought was actually my wife. So my wife is, from another country, and we had already been married for a little while, but we're going through the visa process to get her here with me in America.
Right.
And, we got married overseas and everything else. But
yeah,
my first thought was, oh my God, my poor wife.
Yeah.
So messed up. Like she's going to get here, and she was set to arrive in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So just to fill everybody in on this, Mike. Mike met his wife over in the Philippines, and then he was in the process, of getting her over on a visa, and that's when he got hit with the MS. So I just kind of wanted to explain that a little bit, what was going on. But yeah, and then yeah, so your first worry is what's going on with your wife. So go ahead and tell the story about what you told your wife and how she reacted to it, because I just think that's just a beautiful story.
Yeah. So I called her in the parking lot actually before I even left, and I told her she shouldn't come because she was gonna have to take care of me her whole life, and that I was gonna be no kind of life for her, and
Yeah,
I wasn't that I wasn't gonna be able to be a good husband to her and everything else, and uh, she pretty much said, "Well, come here to the Philippines, we'll take care of you, and
yeah,
you don't have to work or anything. My family will take care of you." And I said, "No, I can't. There's, no treatment there for me. I want to make it."
right, right.
And then she said, "Well, I'm going to go there and I'm going to get you better pretty much." And
Yeah,
so, she came and, she was a huge driver in my recovery.
yeah. That's just so awesome. So she came here, and did she even understand what MS was? I know being from the Philippines, I know it's not like a very popular disease diagnosed over in the Asian countries. So I was just curious as to like what was her like. Did she understand the disease?
She knew it was very serious at
Hmm.
the time, and we both cried together and all of that, and then she immediately started putting in the research to know everything she could about it. Uh,
Wow. So she just dove in and just started learning as much as she could so she can be there and just help
yep.
support you. That's just so awesome, my friend. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
awesome.
And she got here and first started cooking meals for me and was like, "No, you can't eat this because it's inflammatory."
Wow.
Stuff
Wow.
like that.
That's
So,
that's just so awesome. So awesome.
you know,
So let's talk about your career, because I mean 29 years old, you're really just starting out life. And I know that for me, I got diagnosed at 27, and I had just started working for the state of Ohio, and that was really kind of a mental moment for me, because I'm like sitting here, okay, I'm just starting out in life, I want to make it to retirement, and I got this disease now. So, like, how did this disease affect your job? What were you doing, and how did it affect that?
well, so I kind of started my career out early, and actually in my early 20s, I had traveled the West Coast, working at medical facilities, and I worked for this company, and we just kind of, went hospital to hospital. It's kind of a long story on that, but I
Hmm.
was a lead project technician,
Okay.
and I made really good money doing that.
Hmm.
But I was already tired of doing it, barely because of my MS, which I didn't know I had. But
Yeah. Right.
um, so I came back, settled down in Alaska because I'm originally from Alaska,
Hmm.
and I got a job doing security at the local hospital here. And at the time of diagnosis, I was second in command, um, doing security. So, I was able to able to take time off and kind of
Yeah.
leisure about it, and
Right.
uh, actually, I got diagnosed right before COVID kicked off because it was
Yeah.
the end of 2019.
Yeah.
So I actually got really lucky because the lockdown and everything else, um, security at the hospital, typically kind of a busy job,
Right.
was no longer a busy job because nobody wanted to go to the hospital anymore.
Right. So yeah, that worked out
You
good. Yeah.
Yeah, so it worked out really well for me because I was able to sit and relax most of my shifts. And then, of course, I missed a ton of work, but
Yeah.
the work I did make, I was just kind of hanging out. So
Yeah.
it didn't really affect my career too much.
That's a good thing, because I know that a lot of times this disease, it destroys careers, and I mean, that's good that I mean, COVID was a bad time, but it's good that COVID was there and locked everything down, and it worked out good for you. Um,
Right.
so I want to talk about, and this was the reason why I really like drew my attention to you when I was following you on TikTok, is that you just kind of had a different attitude with how you approached MS when you got diagnosed at 29. And I know you just kind of pretty much went and locked yourself into a weight room, and I absolutely love that because I didn't lock myself in and bulk up as much as big as you did, but I know that I attacked it in the weight room because I knew that I had to stay as strong as I could to fight this disease as long as I could. So talk about how you just kind of flipped a switch when after your diagnosis and how you managed your workout routine.
Yeah, so I was kind of always into fitness or, working out or stuff like that when I was younger. But, I kind of lost sight of it. But, before I got diagnosed or really started having issues, I was working out, but it was not really to be, it was functional training. Like I wanted to be able to walk a couple miles and,
Right. Yeah.
function and stuff. So it really wasn't, muscle building
Sure.
type of training.
Sure.
It's just to be healthy because most of my life I was a pretty fat kid. And then, with the onset of MS, I actually lost a ton of weight. And then I was like, oh, I'm just going to keep this going.
Yeah.
And kind of kept going, but it wasn't the direction that was kind of beneficial for me. But anyway, so I guess the big motivator for me to get, the primary motivator was, seeing how sad my wife was, worried she was for me.
Yeah.
I could not stand to see her cry every day. I couldn't stand to see the worry in her eyes every time I was inside the hospital and, like the ER or whatever, because I blacked out and hit my head or something like that because, my MS was messing with me or something.
Right.
So I pretty much told myself, because she always asked me, please get better, please get better. And one day I was like, okay, I'm going to get better. And I got really mad,
Hey.
like I got really mad towards the disease and just got a mindset that I'm in battle and I need to pick up that sword and I need to go kick the crap out of this.
Yeah.
And so I use that today like a rage that I'm gonna get in the gym and I'm gonna get as strong as humanly possible and train like I'm trying to be the strongest man in the world every time. And every time it's a battle, and I got to come out of that battle.
Yeah. And I love that, Mike. Cause I didn't do it that I wanted to be the strongest man in the world, but I just love the fact that you just got that mindset that, all right, MS, you want to play, let's play. You're gonna, if you're going to take me down, I'm going to go down kicking and screaming and fighting, and I'm going to put up the biggest fight in the world. And I absolutely love that about you. I know your workouts are just crazy. You show videos of them, and you're a big dude. I mean, you take really good care of yourself in the weight room. Do you have a diet that you are following, or what kind of supplements are you taking?
Yeah, I take a lot of supplements. I don't have like an MS type diet or anything like that. I stick to like a bodybuilding type diet. So pretty much eat meat and rice every single meal, whether that be chicken or beef or whatever. It's always meat and rice, and it's like tons and tons of protein and tons of carbs. Like, I'll eat like 10 cups of rice plus type thing.
Yeah.
And then I do take a lot of supplements, because I think each one that I take specifically gives a very tiny edge. So I take quite a few of them that I put research into as far as like helping me out with MS or giving me a tiny bit more energy.
Yeah.
So I take like L-carnitine, L-citrulline, L-arginine. I take creatine, obviously protein powder, stuff like that.
Yeah.
vitamin D. I recently started taking glutamine, just kind of help with my joints and stuff like that because I'm always kind of stiff. So,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
especially being my size,
Yeah.
like I can't touch my shoulders anymore.
Yeah, I know. You're a big freaking dude, man. It's just fascinating to me that, that's how you attack this disease. And that's just more proof to me that everybody just has to customize what works best for them. And you figured it out. You just sat there and said, "Hey, I gotta do what I need to do. That's best for me. I'm going to customize it for me. If it's taking supplements, if it's eating a certain way, if it's sitting in a weight room, everybody has to customize it, just like I did for myself, you did for you, and but I can take things that I learn off of you and it might help me, and things that I do might help you. It's just like everybody, we just kind of come together just to, but I love talking to people and just seeing the different ways that this disease is attacked and the ones that work really, really well. And it's just fascinating to me, man. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, I started out after diagnosis, sorry, on a stationary bike I had at my house, and it would be like 1 minute at a
Yeah.
time before I would be completely wrecked. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything. Like I'd be so foggy and destroyed just from a minute,
Right.
But I kept my mindset in this battle was no matter how terrible I felt, I was going to push back
Yep.
or I was going to push past whatever limit I believed to be like if a minute was too much, and I was done in 30 seconds, then I was going to push to a minute,
Right.
and I just kind of kept slowly progressing from there that every time I thought I reached my limit,
Yep.
I kept going farther.
Yep. I love it, man. And I'll give you my version of that. When I first started out with this disease, and I was sitting in the weight room 5-6 days a week, like you. My most important thing to me were my legs. I wanted to keep my legs because I wanted to stay walking as long as I possibly could. So what I did is I got on an elliptical, and when I first started doing it, and this was after my first bad episode. I could barely go 2-3 minutes on an elliptical. And, within a year, I mean, it doesn't happen overnight, for nobody, but I mean, within a year's time, I was up to 30 minutes and I would have a pool of sweat at the bottom of the elliptical. But I mean, I built my way up to that. And I think you can build muscle and you can build endurance with this disease, but you got to work at it to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's literal torture. I mean, days that I train legs, I typically, if I'm training hard, I have to have a friend there with me because I'll black out, mid squat or something like that. My buddy's got to catch me like every time.
Hey,
So
but the bottom line is that that's your way, and that's your customized way that works for you, and it keeps you fighting, and that's what we need to do. You got to find out what is the way that's going to keep you moving.
right. And for me, it's like I do zero cardio nowadays. It's pure muscle, pure strength. Like,
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
I want as much size and as much strength as humanly possible.
Yeah, I get it.
So,
I get it. Yeah.
and it's a constant battle because, like like I'm a little sick right now, but if I even take 1 or 2 weeks off of stuffing my face with my normal diet and working out, like I'll drop 20 pounds like ASAP.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it's definitely a constant struggle, but something that I'm not giving up.
Yeah. So now, we didn't talk about your DMT? What kind of DMT did they end up putting you on?
So when I first got diagnosed, they wanted to start me on a pretty serious one, but I was, scared and, I think everybody is kind of initially, but I started on Copaxone,
Mm-hmm.
and that was kind of a nightmare because it was like supposed to be the most mild EMT there was,
Yeah, that's
or
the
with the
one.
least amount of side effects, you
Yeah,
know.
that's the one that I started
Um,
out on, and I did really well on it for 15 years. It was very easy
yeah,
to me. You know, the biggest pain in the ass to me was you had to do it every day. You had to give your shot at it, give
right.
yourself a shot every day. But other than that, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, you know, like I was having pretty bad injection site pain, and
Hmm.
then
Yeah.
like night sweats really bad, or like my head would feel like it was on fire once in a while, you know.
Hmm.
But I stayed on it for like almost 2 years, or I think.
Oh wow.
But it was not like I ended up having a flare while I was still on it, with only a year, I think, of being on it. And then I stayed on it for, you know, 6 months or whatever past that. It's hard for me to remember.
How did you put
But
up? How did you put up with those side effects that long? 'Cause I know when I first started out, I was on Avonex, and that's another injection medication, and I made it a month. It made me so sick, and I went to my neurologist, and I'm like, Doc, I can't do this, man. You got to put me on something else, and that's when they changed me to Copaxone. How did you last 2 years on that drug if it was making you sick?
well, I just thought this is what I got to do, so that's what I'm going to do, type thing, you know. And
You didn't ask.
um,
You didn't
I've
ask.
always,
You didn't say anything to your doctor, saying, "Hey, doc, you know this is
I,
happening. This is
I
happening."
yeah, no, I did, you know, and he was always open for me changing and stuff like that. And I really couldn't settle on something else because I was like, man, if these are more serious, then
Got it.
you
Got it.
know
I understand.
the side effects of these, you know, I'll feel worse or something like that. And
Gotcha.
you
So,
know, I got lined up for Kesimpta, and I was going to switch to that, and I, you know, got it in the mail and stuff like that. And I never ended up really fully going through with it. And you know, well, I think I did one or two injections, but I kind of developed this plan through this whole time I'm diagnosed. I'm putting in research on, you know, supplements, working out,
sure.
various other things. And, so I kind of came up with this game plan. And I told the wife, I was like, look, I'm tired of this, tired of these drugs. I don't think any of them are going to make me feel better. And I can't live my life feeling like this. Like I feel terrible every day.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think the MS meds make you feel better. They just make you feel, you know, keep you from feeling worse or something, or, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
more progression.
Right.
Uh, so I was like, I got this game plan. Let's make a deal. I'm going to go off the DMTs. And as long as I don't have a flare, I stay off the DMTs. Uh, so fast forward now, you know, I think it's been 3.5 years. I've not been on any DMTs. And, you know, I haven't had a flare since. And even on the DMTs, I was having flares. And typically, if I look back, you know, like every year I had MS, typically I'd have like 1 to 2 flares a year.
Right. Right.
So
Wow. You know,
kind of like
you
the
can't.
longest I've ever been without a flare.
Yeah, you can't argue with that either, Mike. And then again, I'll say that everybody's path is different. You know,
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
I know people that do it the natural way, and you know, and they're doing real well. The lady that I sat down with, I think in episode 3, Maria, she has never taken a DMT, and she has primary progressive, and she's still up and walking and doing everything like normal.
Oh,
It's awesome, you
oh,
know. But I mean, she attacked the disease the natural way, and that's the way she didn't want to take any drugs. And I totally get it. You said, you know what? I'm done with the drugs. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it my way. And you asked your wife if she was okay with it, and she said, yeah, sure. No episodes, and I'm good. And 3.5 years later, and you're still kicking the shit out of MS. I love it.
yeah, and I've managed to get even bigger since stopping.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about the I know that you're getting your license for your chemical dependency, and I want to talk a little bit about that because I just think that's awesome because we have a lot of the same background. I worked in the prison and I worked with a lot of mental health and chemical dependency. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that path that you're on right now for that, because I just think that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So I switched gears career-wise, mostly because like I kind of think like I can't be running around and my last job was sometimes very physical with clients and such.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I switched gears, and then mostly also as well because I feel more out of life helping people and trying to make a difference in someone's life than just
Yeah.
being a big brute to, put
Yeah.
someone back in place, something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I work for a men's rehabilitation or treatment center for substance abuse. Uh, and, a part of that is getting your, chemical uh, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank there. You just said it. No, I can't say it.
Your CDC, chemical
Yeah.
dependency license.
Yeah, my CDC. Yeah, so now I'm in the process of getting that. And I'm a case manager for this facility, but yeah, that's kind of the direction I've gone, and something I'm excited about because I'm actually able to, help people out,
Yeah.
hopefully change their lives for the better.
I love it, man. And I just think that's kind of like the MS in us. Because I mean, that's my whole reason that I started this podcast, which is, I was in the criminal law business for 20 years, and I kind of got an attachment to that population. I know it might sound a little bit weird, but I just like I related with the people that had the drug problems and had the mental health problems, and I loved doing it. And so I totally understand, and I just kind of wanted to continue on with helping people, and I started this podcast, just to kind of help people that have had that are just starting out with this MS journey, just to hey, I've done this 27 years. It's not the death sentence. You still got a lot of life left in you. It's not going to be easy, but you got to keep on fighting. And I love the fact that you're just doing that too. You're figuring it out. You figured out that you're not going to be able to do what you used to do for the rest of your life with MS. So I got to figure something else out. And you're doing that, and still going to be doing something that you absolutely love and have a passion for. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the same mindset I used for, my TikTok and trying to spread MS awareness. I was thinking, if I can go from barely walking and moving around and being able to function, and now I'm here, like I gotta spread this because I know there's other people with MS that, are in the same shoes I was in.
Yep.
I want to give them hope, and I want to, show them like you can fight,
Yep.
and even a little progress is big progress.
Absolutely, man. Amen, brother. That is so true. I always tell people that even though you have a bad day, the sun is always going to come up tomorrow. So you better get up in the morning and attack that day like there's not going to be another, tomorrow the next day, because it might be your last one.
Yep. Yeah. You got to keep pushing it.
Yeah, you got to. You got to. If you're not going to keep pushing and you're going to give up, why are you going to expect anybody else to help you out, and support you? So you got to keep on driving as long as you can, possibly.
Yep.
Mike, man, I really appreciate you coming on here. Is there anything else that you want to tell anybody out there that is, in a similar situation that you were in, just to let them know that, hey, you got this, and there's a community out there that can help you through it, whether it's TikTok or Facebook. But anything you want to say, Mike, before we start wrapping it up?
And I just want to say, keep fighting, and the sky's the limit. You never know what your true limit or your true potential is. You got to keep pushing it because there's no defined limit in what you can do.
Yeah.
And The only limit that could be set is what you set. If you refuse to set that limit and you just keep pushing forward, you can grow beyond what you ever expected.
Yeah, I love that. And that is so awesome. Well said, my friend. I will put pictures up of Mike and just on my TikTok and on my Facebook just to show you what this guy does in a weight room. It's fascinating just to see this guy's got MS and he's just kicking the shit out of it. And I really appreciate you coming on here, helping me spread awareness about this disease, Mike. And don't forget, if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's MSMichiganMan64. TikTok, it's the same thing, MSMichiganMan64. Facebook, you can find me, Brian Wallace, out of Brunswick, Ohio. Until the next episode, this is the MS Michigan Man, Brian. I am out.